What you mean, no?
Why is that early college?
Huh?
Did you grade the notes?
Yeah.
Did you grade the notes?
Do you read English?
I did you grade the notes?
I asked.
Oh, never mind.
All right, we got to start right away. We have too much to do, and you guys are all stressed out because it's 8:00. That was the bell. Can we get those stools down? Thank you. Table 1, I'd like to thank you for having your binders open and starting to review for your exam. That was really bright. I really enjoy to see people actually following directions, fulfilling. I like that I see Cornell notes. I see evidence that you've revised it and you reviewed it. Those highlights, obviously, they're not only are they on there, but they're on there in a way that it's obvious that you were grouping similar ideas by color, and that helps you when that is studying, that is reviewing. So I want to commend Table 1 for doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now that being said, we did not do a review, and I don't give tests without giving a review first. I did give you a study guide for the test. I told you it was going to be on it. I told you the kind of test it was, but I didn't do a review, so I don't like throwing kids in. If we have to, because we've run out of time, that's fair. That is what it is. It's beyond my control, but this is in my control, so we're going to move the test to next week. Would you, since your first period you choose, would you rather it be Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
So Tuesday. So we're gonna move the exam to next week, Tuesday. All right, thank you for sharing. So assignments will be graded by the end of the fourth period today, all right? So it'll be deleted by fourth period today. Not deleted, I'm sorry. Will be graded by fourth period today. So come during your right before lunch or whatever, and come get your stuff. So they'll give you plenty of time to study for the test, especially since we're going to have the review today, and you can take notes on the review as well and kind of go back and reference whatever you need. Is there any other concern? Any other question you have?
For the data make it weak on it, we have to turn it in.
You can't do what? You can submit it you can submit anything into Schoology. So you can upload anything to Schoology if you want. My only requirement for Schoology, and let me go ahead and write that down so there's no question. If, there's that if-then statement, right? If you are submitting to Schoology, you may not submit a JPEG. It must be a PDF. How do you do that? I'll send you something in Jupyter that explains that, but if you have an iPhone, it's really easy. Just open up Notes on the iPhone. Just open up Notes on the iPhone, and then you choose Scan Document. And then you save. Usually on an iPhone, you want to save it to Files. It'll be on your phone, and obviously, so it's going to have to be at home. Then from your files, then you can put that into, go to Schoology and upload it. It's easy on a iPhone, as long as you, and it's in your notes. So when you submit something, if you have enough room, if you don't have enough room on your phones, it's because you're not using your web-based services well. You have iCloud data storage on your iCloud account. You have cloud storage on your Google account, your Google Drive. You can move your pictures, a lot of your pictures and documents, this way? You can move a lot of your pictures and documents to your Google Drive. And then you can either, you and your parents can purchase some more Google Drive space, or you can download it onto a memory stick, or you can put it on a DVD, or you can put it on, or you can create a secondary email. Like you can have a second email where you have everything stored. But my only caution to you is all these emails and all these passwords is that you save a space where in a safe place you write down all your passwords. Because you forget passwords and that email is done, right? And I would do a secondary backup and put my phone number on it so that you can reset your account if you have to. So anyways, you don't have to run out of storage on your phone. Kids tell me that. I'm like, why are you mismanaging your memory storage? Get that stuff off your phone. You don't need 1,250 pictures of you and your friends in the bathroom. You can just upload them to Google Drive and save them, and then you can have them anytime you want. Save only, and you know what? It actually makes the pictures more meaningful, because the ones that you have on your phone actually mean something to you, and all the rest of the 1,000, they might be important. They're somewhere you can reach if you need it, right? I think you guys act like hoarders, but with your phone. You ever seen Hoarders, the show?
Like,
They got around that now.
Well, guys, your phones are like an episode of Hoarders. Like, you got things on there that you will never use, and you just have them. They got 50 pictures of you in front of a mirror in the bathroom. Pick one. Right? I mean, you don't have to have 50 of them. So anyways, if you have an Android phone, which is a Google, any kind of non-iPhone, if you have an Android OS phone, which is anything that's not an iPhone pretty much, then what you're going to want to do is go to Google Drive. Oh yeah, put it down. Thank you. You want to put Google Drive, and then from your Google Drive, you open up and you say Scan Document. And you can do this on an iPhone too if you want. And from that scanned document, now once the document's been scanned, when you see this word scan, that means a PDF. That means you end up with a PDF. Okay? If you're taking a picture, you end up with a JPEG. I'm sure you've seen this .jpeg or .jpeg or .png. And these are great for photo editing. They're great for photos, right? They work fine on your phones. Everything's perfect. But when you're uploading it for data, some computers will open them differently. If they're really high resolution, they'll open up slowly. It really becomes an issue. Why is this important to you? It's important to you because you're going to be applying for internships, and you're going to be applying for colleges, And you really need to know this PDF format because everybody wants everything in PDF. It's standard. This is something everybody can open. Everybody can open up a PDF. Not everybody can open up a PNG or various other types of dot something. All right? So make sure you're scanning your documents. And then once you've scanned them either way, and of course if you do the Google Drive, of course, at least I hope it's of course, you're going to have to go to share. Please make sure that your share is to anyone with a link, with the link. The reason is, otherwise I have to request permission to see it, and then that's just going to take time, and it may not get graded in the time scale that you want it graded, right? So make sure you share anyone with a link. And the other thing, and another good thing about this, if you have, let's say you have an assignment that's 5 pages long. Let's say you have an internship application that's 5 pages long, right? Double-sided. So that's 10 pages. So you take and you go 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and there's 10 pages, 10 copies that you're going to have to send. If you do JPEGs or PNG, you're sending 10 files, 10 pictures. Does that make sense? And they could be very big pictures, and your email may not be able to send them. Or you may send it, but their email may not be able to open it. So that's a problem. On the other hand, if you scan those same 10 pages, if you scan, again, with either iPhone or your non-iPhone, doesn't matter, you end up with one document, one PDF document with 10 pages. And because you have one document and it's 10 pages long, and because it's a PDF, everybody can open it. It's one thing. Things are not lost. You don't have a delay in whatever it is that you want because everything's working for everybody. So really, if you're submitting work, it should be as a PDF, as one document for every assignment. One last suggestion, in either way you do this, and I'll send you a document that kind of walks you through all this. I have a little QR code with YouTube videos that explain each of these, whatever you have, so it's not a big deal. If you want, I'll print them for you. Whichever one of these two you decide to do, okay, name them correctly. Don't just save them as document 1, document 2. You're going to end up with, wow, where's what? I don't know. And trust me, I want to do that too. I just want to say document 1, test, whatever, get it over with. But name them the assignment. Or name what it says in Schoology, right? Name it the assignment it says in Schoology. So when if something goes wrong, I can't tell you how many kids submit the wrong assignment to the wrong PDF to the wrong assignment. So when that happens and you're trying to find your assignment in the files, if you named it correctly, then it's easy. If not, you're struggling and now you're increasing your stress level, right? How do we decrease stress? We deal with the things as much as we can ahead of time and be organized. The more disorganized you are, guys, the more stressful you're going to get. And then I think that's it. Just name them correctly, save them as a PDF, scan them either way you do it, with a Google Drive or with Notes. You can also buy a scanning app if you have a non-iPhone. There's no reason to get a scanning app if you have an iPhone, but if you have a non-iPhone, you can get a scanning app. It's just they cost money. Why do it when Google Drive is free? Are we all good? And if you use Google Drive, all your assignments are in your Google Drive. Put them all in one folder, right? So now you have biology, all your biology assignments. Like if you turn in chapter 1 notes and they're like 5 pages long or whatever, You have one document that says Chapter 1 notes. It's in Google Drive. It's in the biology folder. And somebody's like, do you have the notes for Chapter 1? Sure. Blink, blink, send. Done. Right? Life is a lot easier if you keep yourselves organized. Are we good? Yes? I see a lot of blank faces. All right, very good. Was that helpful? Oh, I'm sorry. I asked if you were good. Are we good? Let me know. If you need more time, just say something. You have to communicate, guys. I can't read your minds. Even if you just stare at me or stare into space. That doesn't, I can't understand what you're saying. I know you're sending me a message, but I just don't understand it. You're not getting the message? Okay. I sent like 5 times. Are we good? All right. I still see people writing, so I'm going to wait a minute. Let me pause this and let it give you time. So let's start our review. We went through something called the scientific method. And we looked at, and that's really our focus, right? What was chapter 1 about? What was science about? What do biologists do? Right? That was in there, wasn't it? And so one of the things that biology does is, what biologists do is we study the environment. We study health, and which includes obviously health. A lot of people look at researching disease. So researching disease, that's listed there. But it's also researching health. I know that doesn't sound, it's like, wait, what? When you research disease, you research how things are going wrong. When you research health, you're researching how things are how do we make everything go as right as possible. Just because you're not at the optimum level doesn't mean you're sick. You could be not sick and still be dehydrated. You could be not sick and still be low on iron, low on potassium, low on this, low on that. And if you're not at optimum, when you do get exposed to a disease, then you get sicker. First you get sick. Secondly, you're probably going to end up sicker than you needed to be. Does that make sense? And also you're not performing at your peak. You don't get your grades that you really need to be getting. You don't feel as good. And that's really kind of an optimum thing is mental health, right? And so mental health is also something that biologists are interested in. Some biologists, that's one field of biology. We also call it behavioral biology. How do people and animals behave, and to some extent plants behave under various conditions? And of course that leads to psychology and psychiatry, and that could lead down all kinds of different roads. But it all starts with biology. When you take psychology, there's going to be a lot of brain anatomy. There's going to be a lot of research into neurotransmitters, which are chemicals that send nerve signals and ideas. Those things you call ideas, the stuff you call love and hate, anger, all that stuff comes from your brain, and those are chemicals that are sent back and forth. And understanding that takes biologists to do. So how do things work? So we really focus in biology is how do things work? How does life work? Is that a good summary of what biologists do? And by the way, and that's for health, but we also study plants, and we study bacteria, And then we also study animals. So not just humans. And viruses. Even though most people don't think they're alive, they're still a biological element, a biological player, a player in biology. It's a particle that's biological, so it's part of the ecosystem. A fungus. All of these are amazing. Protease. Something you probably never heard of before. Has anybody heard of a protease before? Yeah, excellent. So protease. So we study all these things, all the parts of life, and yeah, to some extent, we have to also look at the abiotic. What do you think abiotic means? Non-living. Correct. So the word a in this case is non. A-N, an, I-N as a prefix, a as a prefix, all means not. Is that fair? Okay. So abiotic, biotic means living. So abiotic is non-living. What kinds of things that are non-living do you think biologists are concerned with? What about lead? Not lead. So lead, like lead. Why would we be interested in lead? Who's heard of lead before?
Lead poisoning?
Say what?
Lead poisoning?
Lead poisoning. Lead poisoning on the paint in the walls, lead poisoning in Flint, Michigan, right? So yeah, lead poisoning is an issue. So that goes back to what? Disease, right? So lead is not alive, but we study lead and we study the effects on lead on living things. And how does lead cause disease? We obviously are interested in things like radiation. How does radiation cause disease? Is there any radiation involved in normal living systems? Like, did you know bananas are radioactive? There's radioactive. Bananas are radioactive. You can actually measure the radiation off a banana. Not very radioactive. It's not dangerous, but it's radioactive. It's in the packet I gave you. That's right. Excellent. So other non-living things, obvious. At least I hope it's obvious. You're worried about water. Water's something that's not alive that we study. Why do we study water? We need it to live. So that's part of the understanding the health. That's part of understanding how healthy things are. You know, one of the things doctors look at is how hydrated you are. How much water do you have in you? Which is another good reason to look in your pee when you go to the toilet, right? You go to the toilet, you pee, you should look at your pee. So if it's really dark, you need to drink more water. If it's really light, maybe you need to drink a little less water. But I don't think you can ever really drink. Well, some people are overhydrated, but it's hard to do. And of course, ladies, you have your periods, and sometimes you get bloated, and you have to deal with that and how that impacts. But see, that's why you have to look at your urine and your feces, because you have to get used to what that normal looks like. Okay, so by the way, I used to keep a journal. I still keep a journal. There's no reason why you shouldn't keep journals or diaries. Yes, about your period. There's actually period.
I thought you meant like about our kids.
Well, urine, yeah, urine is it's part of. Look, biology is all about data. Science, medicine is all about data. When you go to a doctor, one of the first things they do is ask you to pee in a cup. Why do they ask? Okay, your doctor will. You have to pee in a cup. They say, here's a cup, go to the bathroom, you pee on it. Hey, stop using PIS. It's pee. Let's just use pee. It's a little more. It's just a little more acceptable word. See, what did you say to PIS? Just urine or pee It's a little more acceptable. I don't have a problem with the word. It's just we are recording. I am putting it on the internet. Let's just use the word pee or urine. Go ahead. Huh?
You can edit it out, the few words.
I can. It's just hard. I have to download it to my. It's more work than I have time for. I can. It's not hard. It just takes time, and I don't have time. All right. So now,
So
here.
the only time I got a urine in a cup is like 5 to 6 tests, if that, if I have to do that for the test. But I really take tests.
Okay. So here's what I'm saying to you. The only thing other than blood that comes out of your body is urine.
Sweat?
Yeah, sweat too, but nobody. It's not. You're right. Sweat does come out of your. It literally comes out of your body as well, but it's harder to get. And by the way, there's urine in your sweat. That's why your shirts turn. That's why your shirts turn yellow. Do you ever see your underpits when you're after you worked out? Your white t-shirts, they turn yellowish.
No.
You don't sweat. You don't work out.
I do, but it
When
doesn't
I
turn
work
yellow.
yellow, my sweat don't taste. You don't my shirt like where it's stained and it shows the color. I mean, it's just wet.
Okay, it's wet, but after you let it sit, after the water evaporates, it's not as deeply yellow as the urine that comes out of your urethra. But if you allow it to dry, what you'll see is that you will see urea. It'll be yellow if you sweat enough. Okay. All right. Look, I'm just telling you facts. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just telling you facts. That's the reality. There is urine, albeit a little bit, in your sweat. So that is a good point. The sweat does come out of your body. Urine, sweat, and blood are the things that come out of your body. A saliva, if you want. And so that's true as well. Shh, pay attention. Think. If you want to know what's going on inside your body, and your breath. Your breath as well is something that tells people what's going on in your body. Pay attention means not talking, because you cannot do two things at once. Now, you could be talking to me about this topic. We can have a conversation. You could be writing. As long as it's all about this. If you're trying to put your mind in two different places, it doesn't work. Are we clear? Are you talking what? No, I'm trying to educate you. If I clock your T, you'll know. All right, so yeah, I'm not subtle. Does anybody think I'm subtle?
No.
I'm not subtle at all. So I'm not passive aggressive. I'm aggressive. All right. So anyways, when we talk about urine, it's one of the fundamental things in medicine that lets us know what's going on in your body. So we could collect your sweat or your breath. When you get pulled over by a police officer, and they think you're drunk, what do they test?
Breath.
Your breath, because the breath is coming from where?
Lungs.
Inside in your lungs. That originally it came from your blood. The gases came from your blood. So then they test your breath. They can tell what's going on in your blood, and they can tell if you've been drinking. But that's because the breath is coming out of your body. Poop doesn't come out of your body. Poop never was in your body. That's the stuff you didn't take in. That's the stuff you did not take in, unless you have diarrhea. So it's very hard to tell with feces what's going on in the body normally. Now, we do test feces. The big test that we test for poop is there blood in the poop? We're worried that you might have colon cancer or intestinal cancer. Now, I say this, and generally, colon cancer used to be a big worry for people my age. In fact, it still is. We have to go in and get checked. We have to have somebody stick a camera up our butt into the colon and scan the colon and see if there's polyps. And if there's polyps, they'll clip it off with a little clipper. The camera has a little knife. Clips off the polyp. A polyp is like a little growth, almost like a mole. They'll clip it off, and they'll test it to see if it's cancerous. Colon cancer kills. Colon cancer kills. Colon cancer, if they remove the cancer, you're walking around with a bag on your outside, pooping into a bag. If you're lucky. Because if you're not lucky, you're going through chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and then even then you're only have like God knows how many years. So yeah, I'll let them stick something up my butt and check my colon and clip whatever they need to clip. Get it out of me. I want to live. Call me crazy, but I want to live. So yes, that's part of that stuff that's going on there. They're checking the poop to see if you're digesting well. Are you absorbing the right amount of minerals and vitamins? Are you bleeding in your intestines, your stomach, or your colon? Colon's a large intestine. Another word for colon is large intestine. So you have to think about these things. But the poop was never in your body. Is that clear? So if you want to know what's going on in your body, even if you're talking now, the stuff that was me clocking your teeth. That just because you might have missed it. Although it wasn't subtle, it was very direct. It was a little less clear than I'd like to be. Yes, it was not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be doing positive narration, but I had to do negative narration because you are my last nerve. Anyways, is that right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? All right. So, anyways, when we're talking about urine, yes, look in the toilet. Yes, look at your poop. Flush it. Of course, you're going to flush it. But look, is there blood? Is it dark? If there's blood, you could have a hemorrhoid. Obviously, you have to be careful if you're a lady because you could be having your period. You know when you know. Hemorrhoids are blood vessels that are widened and big and inflamed. And when you poop, they'll often bleed. But the blood will be red. You still want to go to the doctor because you want them to make sure it's not some kind of other. It could be an infection. It could be something worse. You could have Crohn's disease. Like there's all kinds of issues that doctors have to look at with your intestines. Intestines are very sensitive. You're dealing with bacteria, food, your body. It's the entryway into your body. That's how you don't eat out of your mouth. The mouth is the only way it gets into the intestines. It's the intestines that allow the things into your body. That's the door into your body. Is your intestines is here, the abdomen. The stomach breaks it down. Your mouth chews it and breaks it down. But your intestine is the door into your body. Is that clear? And the colon, the big colon, is where you pull out the water again. You pull the water back into your body in the colon, and then you compact the poop. And then the poop is nothing but bacteria and the food that you did not eat. The food that didn't come into your body. Is that clear? That's what poop is. It was never in your body. It's stuff that never got in. That's the stuff you rejected. The stuff that got in through the door that's in your intestine. So anyways, that was a way off topic, but it's important to know that there are a lot of abiotic factors in there. Iron. Why would we test iron? Because we need iron for life. It's part of our healthy. Testing our health. Why do we test for air pollution? Air pollution is not alive. Why are biologists testing air pollution? If we're testing for oxygen level, then we're going to see how healthy that system is. If we're looking for other kinds of pollutions like nitrous oxide or whatever, then we're looking at how is this making you sick? Right? So there's a lot of abiotic factors that we need. There's a lot of stuff that's not alive that we need. Phosphate. We need phosphorus, which is a rock. We need to have that mineral in our body. Potassium is a mineral, a rock. We need that in our body. Iron is, obviously, I hope you know, metal, a rock. We need it in our body. Like we don't need lead in our body. We don't want any lead in our body, but unfortunately, we're going to get some in our body. Lead impacts our nervous system.
You could have just
Yes, it is. Like I said. Why does this thing do this? All right, yeah, obviously I misspelled lead. Let me get that. Oh my gosh, this thing's not erasing. What is going on here? I don't want to waste any more time than I don't want to waste time. I want to use it wisely. So, does everybody understand this section of chapter 1? Because there's going to be questions. It's going to have you apply these ideas. All right. So the scientific method, that section of chapter 1, obviously we start with a question. And you had a really cool activity. I think it was cool. It was meant for you to do in groups. So if you were doing it on your own, it's going to be harder. Right? You had a concept map, and you had to write out, answer questions for a pretend science experiment. You're going to have to do that on your test. You're going to have to design a science experiment. Design an experiment. I am going to give you a situation. You're going to get a situation. It'll be a situation. It'll be a paragraph. This situation, another word for this situation, is an observation. So you're going to get an observation. And then you're going to have to sit down and ask a question. So the first thing you're going to have to do, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to ask a question. Based on what? Well, there's no experiment, but yeah, that's good. You're based on what? On the situation. The situation is going to lead you to a question. What's that question going to be? I don't know. It's up to you. There's going to be 100 different questions you can ask. But it will be very clear. Some questions will be very clear. It'll be something like, there's a class, a 9th grade class at CSSM where everyone got sick. They had a party and people drank punch and people ate potato salad and people, I love potato salad, stop talking. People ate, I don't know, what else do people eat at parties? Chips.
But who eats the salad at a party? Huh?
Okay, whatever. I do. Okay, I do. It's a barbecue party. How's that? It's a barbecue party. All right, so anyways, we had all that. People had this food that was catered. Everybody was sick. And these were the symptoms. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. So now, what questions are you going to ask? Well, whatever question you might want. It'll be more detailed, obviously. So the second thing you're going to have to do is what? After you ask your question, you have to come up with a hypothesis. How am I going to judge your question? I'm not going to judge your question. Is it the question I would ask? No, it's not what I'm asking. What I'm asking the question is it related to the situation? Is your question a science question? Right? I wouldn't expect you to ask a question like, why did they pick potato salad for the party? I wouldn't expect that kind of question, right? I'd expect a question like, what made these people sick? Right? Something like that. But it has to be a science-based question. I don't want to read the questions like, why did they wear red with black after Labor Day? I don't know. Whatever. I'm just making up I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm just making it up. So then a hypothesis. I would love, if you want to make sure you get a quick and easy way to make sure you're getting all the components of a hypothesis, I would write if something, then this is true. If this is true, then this is true. If this is true, then this is true. What is this? Whatever you're saying. If the ribs made them sick, then there should be a lot of bacteria on the ribs. There should be more bacteria on the ribs than there is in the potato salad. Or we should find E. coli, or we should, whatever. Are we clear? So it has to be, whatever it is, I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head, but whatever the situation, if this is true, then that is true, is the one way to make sure you get the maximum benefit from your work of writing this hypothesis. And remember, hypothesis has to be testable. So it has to be something that you can actually do an experiment with, and also it has to be based on the question. Don't write a hypothesis that ignores the question. Make sure it's based on the question. Is everything good so far? Okay. So the third step that you're going to have to do is what? You're going to have an experiment. The experiment has to be based on what? The hypothesis. All right. So in your experiment, you're going to have to think about, you have to list. So one, let's just do, instead of one, let's do A. You have to list all the variables that you are going to keep the same. The controlled variables. Somebody's just upset outside. Don't worry about it. Are we good? Are we good? Then you're going to want to decide what variable are you going to change? And we call this the what? The one you change? Not yet, but yeah, we are going to need a control group. So you're going to want, the one you change is going to be called the independent variable. And then C, you're going to want to control what is going to change when you change the independent variable. INDVAR. Okay? So what's going to change when you change the variable? And then also, you have to remember that this independent variable often, if not always, let's use a different color, green. This independent variable is going to be if. It's going to be coming from here. And this dependent variable, by the way, this is known as the dependent variable. I know it's almost time to go. I really would rather we finish this. Dependent variable. Variable is VAR is short for variable. That dependent variable, that is going to be found here. So if you list a dependent variable, if you list the variable that's going to change and it doesn't match the then you made a mistake. Is that clear? All right, I'll finish this tomorrow with you, and then I'll have your handouts for you tomorrow as well. So yeah, so maybe there'll be drop-down menus or they'll be fill-in, but you won't have to write it blank. All right, so the next, are we done with the experiment? Is this the end of the design? No, what's next? Control group, that's right. You need a control group. So a group that is negative for your test result, for your test, whatever that test is. So if you're testing pH and you're expected to be acidic, it's neutral. This is something you know is neutral. If it's something if ribs with E. coli, I would have ribs without E. coli. If it's, and whatever it is, it's either negative for your test or it's positive for your test. But what's key here is that you know that it's positive or negative. This is what you already know. This is not something you're testing because you're not sure. You're either negative for your test or you're positive for your test. But this is something you know. This is a known. And why do you test something that you know? To make sure that you have something to compare it to. So if you're testing for E. coli, what do ribs with E. coli look like? I need that. I need to have that to control, to have as a list. We call this the control group. Without it, it's not really a great experiment. And we looked at Tuskegee and why they did what they did. They were trying to make a control group. They were thinking a control group. They weren't really thinking about humanity. Okay. Are we good with this? Next, you're going to have data. So the last step for this section is going to say you have to add your data. So how are you going to collect your data? Data collected. So just going to say data collected in a table. All right, that's it. Just state that. Remember, a table is something with columns and rows. Right? A, B, C, D, E. 1, 2, 3. So now we're done with the experiment. You've collected your data. The next question is the last section here that we're going to obviously have to wait till tomorrow to really discuss is what do we do with the data? We call it analysis. It's not the last section. And then, because the last section after analysis is your conclusion. And your conclusion, you're going to, what I expect to hear in your conclusion is that your question's answered, and it's based on your hypothesis. And what I expect is that all this whole experiment is going to allow you to be, everything, your data comes right from your experiment. And I also expect that your data that you're not analyzing your analysis is based on the data, and that your conclusion is based on the analysis. Everything has to flow. Everything must make sense. If one thing doesn't follow the other, you're going to be wrong. That's how you don't do well on this test. It should be an easy test if you're kind of following through with this stuff. And I'm going to give you some practice tomorrow. Okay? All right, I'm going to take attendance and we're out of here.